Mike, check. Justin Hunte. It's all happening. Thank you to everybody rocking with the channel. Thank you to everybody subscribed through the channel who shared a video, shared a link. It's priceless. Big thank you to everyone who's donated. If you'd like to donate, you hit the Cash App that's right up there, or you can hit the link in the description. And big thank you to my newest members, all my newest members, Billionaires Forever Clothing. I had to click on the link to find you. Billionaires Forever Clothing. Jess Starwind, Just Us 87, Kimberly Williams, Saturn, David, T. Jamal Lee, Sheena Verrett, Chuck Lee. 9-second applause. Thank you. And big shout out to Trixie the Golden Witch, just because. Great content, really great content. And I appreciate you. Now, big day. We've had this day circled on the calendar for a long time now. It is April 17th, which means yesterday, Drake's team released the amended lawsuit against UMG for defamation because of Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. Now, they put this up pretty late yesterday. I was looking out for it most of the day, then had to leave because last night was the MadLib event at Echoplex. Featured Sway was hosting, Gaslamp Killer was there, Planet Asia was there, Alchemist was there, Evidence was there, Blue was there, a number of others. And it was really just great hip hop feeling, hip hop cultural event. And it was a fundraiser for MadLib at the same time. Big shout out to my man Caesar. He works at the Echoplex, is also a fantastic director, videographer, and film producer. And so we were kicking it last night. MadLib was there. MadLib had her artwork on display yesterday too for a silent auction. It was just an incredible all hip hop event. And if you were there, you understand the beauty of the experience. And if you weren't, punch yourself in the face. I believe they live streamed it, so I'm gonna take a look to see if I can see the live stream and cover it separately. I took some video and some pictures and things last night too, so I'll put those up. Big shout out to my man Prof who was there too. Mike Sick, ran to Mike Sick there as well. And then a number of you in the audience, a number of you guys, a number of you analysts, were there, and it was great building with you guys too. And nevertheless, when I get home, the Drake's filing, the amended filing's available. So I started reading it last night. I finished it this morning. Then I read it one more time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through the amended filing. I'm only gonna point out the things that they've amended and drop some anecdotes around some of these things. But this has been a big day on the calendar regarding this case for a while. After this, I believe UMG will have 2 weeks to respond to this. I think they'll probably do an official motion to dismiss. We also have a response from UMG as well, so we'll cover that at the end. and they've changed a few things. They've changed a few things, and they've changed a few references and switched in some new ones. So it's a trip. This is really a trip. So let's get into it. All right, so here is the exhibit. This is the main complaint here. As you can see, it's a complaint. Now this is the amended complaint. This is redline, so we're just gonna cover the redlinings. Except for this beginning. So they start off again with a quote from Lucian Grainge: "A single lie can destroy a reputation of integrity. And while it takes years to build a reputation, it can be ruined in 5 minutes," right? And so this sort of sets the stage for the entire filing. We covered this with the original lawsuit that was filed that links on this channel. I'll put a link to it in the description. I'll also make it the recommended video at the end so we don't have to rehash all these things. But this is them setting the stage, and it comes back up again, and there's a new Lucian reference in here too. So we'll get to that when we do. All right, so we're covering the redlinings, and some of the redlinings are really just, grammatical changes or tense changes or some updates, seeing that we are now 4 months since the original filing in itself. You'll see an example here. The song in question is Not Like Us. The recording, written and performed by Kendrick Lamar Duckworth, professionally known as Kendrick Lamar. The recording was intended to convey the specific, unmistakable, and false factual allegation that Drake is a criminal PDF, and to suggest, the original version said, that the public should resort to. Here it says, suggest vigilante justice as a response. as a response. Now, you will see this as we get through this filing. A lot of this stuff just sort of lets people know what they're gonna talk about. Then they talk about it. Then they remind people what they talked about. And the vigilante justice part, I expected some changes there, and they did. They added to it instead of subtracting from it. But I just read that part so you can get an example of some of the changes in here that I'm probably not going to cover all of those. I'll just cover the significant ones. Here's another one down here. It says, the original version said the video bolsters, but they crossed that out. So now it says, the video created weeks after the song became a viral hit was designed to reinforce the same false factual narrative by, for example, showing images associated with S-trafficking and juxtaposing the game of hopscotch with lyrics accusing Drake of trying to strike a chord and is probably a minor. I feel like they don't have a sense of humor. Now, perhaps no one else in the world can really relate to what it's like to have a global smash hit, say crazy things about you to this degree. So only one person can really relate. So I'll give him some grace on that. But that's a funny line. It's a funny rebuttal. It's a hilarious rebuttal. It rebuts the Dave Free line so well. All right. So the next red line here, it says, the original version said the defamatory material has been played many billions of times and its false message has calcified into accepted fact via social media and legacy media channels broadcast in dozens of languages at minimum, hundreds of million people spanning the globe. So they're saying, they argue heavily in this amended document. They're leaning more into YouTube comments, Twitter posts as accepted fact, right? And they also will make allegations about third-party botting, not botting necessarily from UMG or not necessarily from Spotify, et cetera, but third-party botting as a nature as a reminder of how false things on the internet and on social media actually are sometimes, and yet they're still using social media posts and YouTube comments to make the argument that this video's false central message has calcified into accepted fact. Right, so we'll see more of that as we get into it. It's not just fans of rap music who now believe that Drake is a certified PDF, because it's not just fans of rap music who have been reportedly exposed to the song's lyrics. Instead, the recording has become ubiquitous in significant part because of UMG's deliberate efforts designed to accomplish just that. Okay, so that part was added. That was amended, portion of the amended filing here. Next part is, but billions of plays and ubiquity were not enough for UMG. Long after UMG knew about the harm that Not Like Us had caused to Drake, and with full understanding that countless listeners have interpreted the song's lyrics and imagery to convey assertions of fact, UMG made significant financial investments and leveraged its professional connections via sophisticated and highly organized publicity campaigns to arrange for the recording to be performed at one of the most significant and viewed cultural events of the year, the Super Bowl. This entire section was added here because, again, when this lawsuit was first filed, we hadn't had the Super Bowl yet. We hadn't seen that incredible, layered, one-of-a-kind, record-breaking Super Bowl performance, courtesy of Kendrick Lamar. 1 second applause. The recording was performed during the 2025 Super Bowl and broadcast to the largest audience for a Super Bowl halftime show ever. Over 133 million people, including millions of children and millions more, who had never before heard the song or any of the songs that preceded it. It was first and will hopefully be the last Super Bowl halftime show orchestrated to assassinate the character of another artist. I get a kick out of the framing because it was a really successful Super Bowl. It was extremely successful. They will talk about some of the changes that Dot made to the lyrics in the songs later on. So we'll see this come back again. Moreover, UMG retains the rights to refuse to publish works based on content to which it objects, including material that UMG deems to be defamatory. Right, so they're going to make an argument as to, at any point in time, UMG could have just stopped this song. The next one. As voluminous public commentary confirms, the average listener or viewer has understood the defamatory material to reflect factual assertions about Drake rather than art or hyperbole. Moreover, the lyrics of Not Like Us leave the unmistakable impression that they are based on additional facts not disclosed to the listener, but that might be revealed at some point in future time. In the words of one commenter, the recording's false lyrics have made it such that everybody believes that Drake loves touching. All right, so this next amendment here is just at one point in time over recently, but they brought back this image again. So this is, at one point in time, flyers were plastered all over Toronto with a photo of Drake and Canadian YouTuber who was sentenced to 3 years in prison for SA with the words Canadian SPs gotta stick together. All right, so people outside doing things, and they're using this again to say that it's calcified fact. Calcified fact is very strong language. Very strong language. They're saying that people are taking this song and believing it's a fact, and solely because of this song. All right, so here's the section that was added. The public response re-intensified following the 2025 Grammys and Super Bowl, both of which feature the defamatory material. Each of these prestigious and high exposure events introduced new listeners to the recording, causing even more people to be duped into believing that Drake was a PDF. Not only did streams of the recording increase significantly following these two mega cultural events, but threats against Drake and his family did as well. The next one here brings in a quote from an expert on conspiracy theories. And so it says, there's always been a certain amount of salaciousness in these conspiracy theories, and if it involves children, people immediately lose their mind, even if these children don't exist. If you just put the suggestion out there, it grabs hold in a way that is difficult to dislodge. And then they added, this is exactly what the recording accomplished, right? So they're going to argue this later on in the document as well. Later it says, yet UMG still chose money over the safety and well-being of its artists, notwithstanding its public commitment to behaving honorably and with honesty and setting the right tone in all we do. And then they added, UMG has tripled and quadrupled down on its defamation for profit strategy, even after Drake filed this lawsuit, which detailed the harm to him and his family caused by UMG's publication and promotional activities. All right, so this is the setup, basically. All right, so here's the party section. None of this has really changed. And then we get into each covenant where they break down what they just laid out. A lot of these are very small, right? You can see here between 2010 and 2024, Drake released 8 studio albums with more than 170 million albums sold, including 244 million singles sold. Drake has had 13 hits on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, the Billboard Hot 100. Down here, they just add October's very own OVO. Some of these things are very minor again. Again, with Discovery and with this lawsuit, they want to see UMG's compensation packages for executives, right? They call out the Lipmans at Republic, but they also call out Mr. Janik, who's the CEO of Interscope. And so they added some additional color to the reason behind why this is important. The division-based incentive structure creates perverse incentives within UMG. Mr. Janik and other Interscope executives are incentivized to maximize the financial success of the Interscope labels without taking into account the impact on other UMG labels. For example, through the promotion of the recording and its revitalizing impact on Kendrick Lamar's entire recording catalog, including his first 5 studio albums, Interscope and Interscope executives benefit regardless of the effect on other UMG labels like Republic, which represents Drake. And all of this is new. In a June 2017 interview, Mr. Janik responded to a question about Sir Grainge's encouragement of competition between UMG record labels by stating, "I love to compete, and I don't like to lose." UMG is fully aware that musical content, including song lyrics, can defame third parties and that artistic expression is not free license to harm others. On information and belief, UMG's standard long-form exclusive recording contract includes a provision which permits UMG eliminate material works which, in UMG's judgment, constitutes defamation or libel. Now, I don't know if UMG really thought about this as defamation or libel, right? I mean, they're saying that They have the right to do these things. But that's all about interpretation, especially considering, again, that this is happening within a rap battle. And one thing we do not see in this filing is reference to Drake's previous releases. They talk around it quite a bit. And one of the updates that's coming up next, we'll see this shortly, alludes to the fact that perhaps one of the things that Dot says was in response to something, but they're talking about this in a vacuum still. And so if you're talking about this in a vacuum, that sentence makes more sense, right? Eliminate material which, in UMG's judgment, constitutes defamation or libel. But in a rap battle, there was all kinds of stuff in this from both sides that would constitute arguably defamation or libel. But since it's a rap battle, it's an entirely different way to look at it. There's a lot of information lacking still, even in this amended filing. Here's a section that was changed. On information and belief, UMG's contracts with Kendrick Lamar provide UMG the same right as in its standard long-form exclusive recording contract to eliminate material which may constitute defamation or libel. Okay, so they basically made that more succinct. Here's some numbers updates. Since defendant's initial publication of the recording has been streamed globally more than 1.4 billion times on Spotify alone as of the date of this filing. 1 second applause. Keeps on moving. So here's the part that I mentioned earlier. The recording repeatedly accuses Drake of engaging in criminal acts, including PDF and other acts that would require registering as an S offender and of being registered as an S offender. Within the first minute, the recording identifies Drake by name and states that Lamar has heard, they've added this part, albeit from undisclosed sources and concerning undisclosed individuals, that Drake has a predilection for underage women. Say, Drake, I hear you like them young. Right. So they added that part, and that's significant because in UMG's filing in response to the original lawsuit, they point out how on TaylorMade Freestyle, Drake says, tell him that I like young girls as a gift for me. Heard it on the Button podcast has got to be true. Right. So they're the ones who pointed out that, yeah, that was a rebuttal. In this one, they've added this part, which I think is hilarious. They've added this part here that says, within the first minute, the recording identifies Drake by name and states that Lamar has heard, albeit from undisclosed sources and concerning undisclosed individuals. Well, the source is Drake. You could argue the source is Drake. A reasonable person who might be unaware of a lot of the allegations that have been following Drake around for a long time, who only jumped in this conversation and started listening to the songs in this battle. Well, that undisclosed source would be Drake. Because that's what Drake said to tell everybody. Heard it on the Button podcast, it's got to be true. This part right here was really contentious too. They haven't made any changes to this next part. Check this out. The recording also repeatedly suggests that violence should be used against Drake because he's a PDF. Like the sound of someone being beaten up, the recording repeats wop, 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 wop. And they actually still left out a wop. It's actually 5 wops, nevertheless. And then says Lamar will F him up. Later, the recording threatens that if Drake comes to Oakland, he will not make it out alive. Now, they changed this because in the original part, they said that Kendrick grew up in Oakland. They got this wrong. It's so wrong the first time, right? So they've changed this now. They've changed this. And it says, so the now of the filing says, later the recording threatens that if Drake comes to Oakland, where Lamar grew up, he didn't grow up there, but he will not make it out alive. I think that Oakland show gonna be your last stop. The recording makes clear that justice will be served not through the legal system and or commentary on social media, F a caption, but through physical violence. One action, no accident, I'm hands-on, he F around and get polished. That was actually a good flip too, because, you know, Drake be nail polishing. At the end of the recording, the lyrics threateningly repeat, hey, 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 run for your life. Hey, 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 run for your life. It's a funny song. The recording contains numerous additional statements that imply the existence of evidence to support the allegations against Drake. The recording expressly represents that Lamar possesses additional undisclosed information about Drake. That part has been updated as well, or has been amended. Rabbit hole is deep, I can go further, I promise, and that the public will believe him. The audience is not dumb. Shake the stories how you want. Hey, Drake, they're not slow. The recording continues by making reference to several Drake songs, Family Matters and God's Plan, and accusing Drake of being a liar for denying allegations of criminality. The family matter and the truth of the matter, it was God's plans to show y'all the liar. The recording also makes a vulgar attack on Drake's OVO brand. What OVO for? The other vaginal option? P. It's been a great year. It's been a great year. And let me hear you say, OV ho, OV ho, OV ho, OV ho. Furthering the recording's refrain that Drake is not like us, the recording alludes to Drake's Jewish heritage, saying Drake is not a colleague, but an effing colonizer. Now, in my mind, I was about 57, 58% sure they're going to amend that part, but they didn't. They're still alluding. They're still saying this song is anti-Semitic. They're still saying this. Furthering the recording's refrain that Drake is not like us, the recording alludes to Drake's Jewish heritage, saying that Drake is not a colleague, but an effing colonizer. They're still saying that part. And I thought that was pretty significant. I'm actually disappointed that part is still in there. Now, sure, I guess there's legal reasons. Perhaps there's some heartstrings that can be pulled upon at some point in time. But I never made this connection at all until this filing. And so I think they actually are the ones who put this out here. I'm really disappointed in this part.
Tomato.
All right, so back to the amendments. All right, so here's a big chunky amendment right here. The recording provides no evidentiary support for any of its defamatory allegations. Instead, allegations are based entirely on undisclosed fact and expressly refers to such undisclosed facts as described above, right? So small minor changes there. Here comes some more substantive changes. They've taken out some of these bullet points and they've rewritten them. So people believe and repeat the allegations in the recording and image, right? So this is where they really talk about why they feel this way. The recording's allegations about Drake were understood to be factual assertions against Drake from the moment UMG published it. Whatever generalities might be applied to hip-hop tracks in the abstract plainly did not hold here, as evidenced by the commentary that appeared online and in social and legacy media channels. As soon as UMG published the recording and image, countless posts and comments reveal a widespread public perception that the recording and image convey factual allegations against Drake. Right, so this part to me was key because this is sort of a response to what UMG said in its earlier filing. Whatever generalities might be applied to hip-hop tracks in the abstract plainly did not hold here, as evidenced by commentary that appeared online. Hip-hop tracks. This is a rap battle. This is a different thing. A rap battle is different than hip-hop tracks. They're staying away from this. They're still staying away from their filing that this was a rap battle. This is the second opportunity they've had to clarify this. They updated this, they amended this, presumably, in my opinion, in response to UMG's response, which heavily leans into the fact that this is a rap battle. They amended this to say whatever generalities might be applied to hip hop tracks in the abstract. This is a rap battle. Totally different context. As one user put it, this isn't a diss, it's the truth. The culture isn't just not effing with Drake. It's correcting itself by kicking out these predators, Drake, Diddy, etc. Another user wrote, the recording is telling the truth and Drake being a PDF. Another commenter posted, Drake has more than 800,000 dislikes on that song because everybody believes he loves touching because we have evidence everywhere. The fact that the allegations came packaged in rap lyrics did not dissuade listeners from erroneously believing the allegations to be true. For example, I love this song. We would have never known Drake is a whole PDF if this information wasn't exposed. Respect and love you, Kendrick, for keeping it 100. From your tone, anger, and passion behind your words, there's no doubt on my end that Drake is indeed a PDF. Moreover, any reasonable listener would have understood that Kendrick Lamar was claiming to know more information about Drake than he disclosed in the recording's lyrics. The public noticed and commented on this unmistakable message. Bro just exposed Drake for running with PDFs and S offenders. I don't know. I don't think Kendrick is dumb enough to make false accusations. I don't want to assume without proof, but it ain't looking good for Drake. Like, I feel like he's still holding some ish back and ain't saying everything he knows about Drake. Others echoed, right? So these are, if you look at the footnote here, these are YouTube comments. These are commenters from YouTube. Here's some more. I don't want to be that guy, but I never took Drake seriously. He's Canadian. He was in Degrassi. That stuff makes it hard for me to take him seriously. I thought that's why Kendrick went after him. Now it's more serious than just Drake being fake. I'm like, wow, if I knew all this, I'd hate Drake too. This is checkmate for Drake, because how exactly do you respond to someone calling you a sociopath, a deadbeat, and a PDF? As for Kendrick Lamar, I just want to know how he found out some of the things and what took so long to call Drake out. Here's another one. And this whole thing is beyond brutal at this point. Kendrick must truly effing hate Drake for some reason. Makes me inevitably think there might be real merit to the PDF claims. Sorry, Drake. Kendrick is literally making me think it. Jesus Christ, talk about winning a rap beef. Laughing emojis. Laughing emojis, right? So again, they're leaning heavily into the comments left on this video at this portion. We'll get to another part in a few where they're leaning heavily into Twitter comments. Many listeners focused on the line, "Rabbit hole is deep, I can go further, I promise," as implying that lyrics were based on undisclosed information. One user commented, "Rabbit hole still deep, I can go further, I promise. Drake waves the white flag, ends beef. I wonder what else he was scared about coming out. In response to the Super Bowl performance in February 2025, one user commented, "Rabbit hole is still deep. I can go further, I promise. Never doubt about this quote ever again." Other users drew similar conclusions from the recording's words. All right, so again, you can look at these quotes here. They're all from YouTube. They're from the video, and they're from the Super Bowl. All right, so there's more quotes that are like that that they're referencing here. And then they continue, "It is entirely unsurprising that the public interpreted the recording's lyrics as assertions of fact. On April 30th, 2024, less than a week before the release of the recording, UMG had released an earlier song by Kendrick Lamar, Euphoria, that threatened that he won't tell no truths about Drake if Drake don't tell no lies about me, and ominously stated that he knows some ish about Drake. To the reasonable listener familiar with these lyrics, any future allegations levied by Kendrick Lamar and Drake against Drake will be based in truth and undisclosed fact." Right. We talked about this in the last filing too. And because in that video, we also looked at what a few different experts say. And at least one legal expert pointed to this particular portion as being potentially significant should this case go to trial, or potentially significant should the judge decide not to dismiss. Again, after this, UMG will have 2 weeks to file a motion to dismiss. If it's not dismissed, then the calendar continues. It looks like all of this would be wrapped up by June 2026, if I'm not mistaken, sometime in 2026. And so that is something that if you look at this again, they've emphasized that in this amended filing. I don't know if they listened to this particular lawyer, or they decided to just add this in here. But this is the only, if I'm not mistaken, this is the only previous diss track they go back to. They reference. They don't reference Meet the Grams at all, and that could be the one that would have more legs to me than this particular song. Moreover, the image which depicts Drake's Toronto residence and 13 S-Predator icons likewise caused viewers to believe that the allegations against Drake. One user asked, "Who are the 13 PDFs at Park Lane Circle?" Demonstrating that they believe the image to be accurately depicting who lived or spent time in the home. Other users similarly remarked, "Just realized the thumbnail is from the S-Predators app. Oh my God, that S-Offenders map on Drake's house. Nah, that many PDFs in one spot is crazy. Drake canceled. Drake housing a bunch of pedos at his house, nervous laughing with sweat emojis. Yo, S-Offenders have to register. Red means S assault against a minor. Drake has 13 of them living in his house, ? Okay, so again, these are taken from YouTube comments. I'm not sure if these would be considered reasonable listeners. And I'm also not sure what the overall scope of comments in the comment section look like. I personally haven't looked at it, right? Are these comments that are pulled out of this representative of the majority of people who have left comments on this? I have no idea. But these are where these comments are coming from. Drake's PDF mansion. Those are the markers used to show that pedos that live next to your kids. People all over the internet also question why Drake had not yet been arrested and called for the police, the FBI, and the Central Intelligence Agency, as well as Child Protective Services, to investigate the statements in the recording. In comments on UMG's initial publications of the defamatory material to YouTube, users wrote, "The FBI needs to come at this point," laughing emoji. See, the laughing emoji is where where I think it would translate a little differently. I think the fact that you get because some of these have laughing emojis, laughing so hard I'm crying emojis. I don't know if these would count as statements of fact or I don't know how much these actually support their argument that the assertions made in Not Like Us have factually calcified in the minds of the listener. I don't know if a laughing emoji really does that. Hey, Kendrick, don't diss Drake. It's a waste of time. Just call the cops and snitching. Drake is a PDF, so Drake go to jail and you can win. Bye. Thumbs up emoji. Hide your children from Drake. If what Drake is saying is true, Drake needs to be locked up, right? If what Kendrick is saying is true, Drake needs to be locked up, right? So they've made adjustments to these things. Here's a bunch more. I'm not going to read all those, but you get the tape. You get the flavor. Many posters turned to racial and religious slurs against Drake, who is mixed race and Jewish. For example, users on YouTube and X commented, "If it's Drake, that pedo Jew boy, and Drake's Jew protection pedo team will get him off." And the harassment has not been limited to Drake. People with little to no affiliation with Drake have found themselves in the crosshairs. Comedian Tracy Morgan was subject to awful social media scrutiny after posting on an Instagram photo of his adolescent daughter with Drake. Users commented, "Drake should not be allowed to take pictures with girls. I think he likes them high school age. He's probably grooming her. Drake likes minors," and made references to defamatory material through GIFs and quotations of the recording's lyrics. Okay. And so here's the picture they're talking about. So this is Drake and Tracy Morgan's daughter. It looks like they're probably at a Knicks game, I'm guessing. And so the latest comment says, "Based on these comments alone, UMG just need to go ahead and send Drake a blank check and tell him to fill in the amount because he for sure going to win that defamation case." Right. So this is the point that they're making in this amended filing, because all of this is new. The public's understanding was not limited to social media users. In a May 10, 2024 recording of the It's Been a Minute show produced by NPR Radio, host Brittany Luce discussed the allegations in the recording with NPR music reporter Sydney Madden and writer Terhaka Love. They understood the recording to be linking Drake and his alleged criminal behavior to other famous figures who were revealed to the public as S-Predators and later convicted for their crimes, such as rapper R. Kelly. Miss Madden insinuated that the allegations could be true, commenting that so much dirt has been unearthed. To Love, the allegations rose to the level of warranting an investigation. Because while this sort of behavior, meaning violence, is in our faces for a lot of different industries, it is unusual for the allegations to come from contemporaries. The podcast positioned the recordings as having the potential to be a tipping point for a Me Too movement for the world of hip hop. Luce explicitly asked her guests whether they considered the allegations in the recording to be art or cause for an actual criminal investigation. Ms. Madden answered by pointing to the trial of rapper Young Thug, who was recently criminally prosecuted in Georgia on RICO charges, in a case where the prosecution relied heavily on rap lyrics as evidence. Now, Drake said he was against that. He was against rap lyrics as evidence when it came to Young Thug, probably other cases generally speaking. But when he needs to use rap lyrics in cases for his own benefit.
Tomato.
Numerous articles were written exploring the meaning of the recording's lyrics, including discussions of the purported factual basis for those lyrics, right? So here's footnotes that reference these kind of things. Like, this is the Hot New Hip Hop post that dives into it, etc. Other influencers suggested the possible truth of the allegations. During his set at a May 7th, 2024 charity event, actor and comedian Seth Rogen commented on how Drake must feel now that people are dancing to a song that calls him an S-predator. Mr. Rogan said, "Could you imagine going to a club and seeing a room full of people dancing to a song about you being a PDF, especially if you were one? Especially if you were one? I don't know if he is, but if he was, I'd assume that'd be a very alarming moment in your life. Oh no, they're on to me." Seth Rogen's a comedian. Interestingly in this, Conan O'Brien doesn't show up. You know, he made a joke about this at the Oscars. But Seth Rogen was the pop culture reference of choice here. Many comments turned violent and threatening, repeating the calls for violence against Drake in the recording. Drake not going to be able to touch down in Cali going forward. Somebody going to Biggie Smalls him. Homies out here don't tolerate PDF. Not even joking. This is one of the situations where you kind of just got to kill yourself if you're Drake. That reasonable people would believe the allegations contained in the defamatory material were entirely foreseeable. Allegations of PDF are a cultural lightning rod. That's true. That is very true. You know, we can't dismiss that fact when it comes to this filing. They're not wrong about that. Less than a month after UMG published the recording and image, author Martin Vidal published an article titled "The Drake-Kendrick Beef, a Case Study of Mob Psychology." So this is the part that I mentioned before where they brought in an expert in conspiracy thinking, mob movement. And so they've added things that this person has said to this filing. Mr. Vidal explains that mob mentality is a psychological state that causes people to abandon nuance, label anyone who defends the accused as being guilty of the same actions of the accused, reward those who perpetuate their cause, and do bad in the name of doing good, even when accusations are made without supplying any evidence. Mr. Vidal concludes that the public reaction to the allegations against Drake were classic mob mentality, citing the shooting and other trespassing incidences of vandalism at Drake's OVO stores, and overwhelming negative public outcry. Now, that shooting to me is still very much debatable considering the Weeknd's manager's house was shot a week prior to that, you know. So they're adding causation off of the correlation, and they're saying it's because of those things. And I personally think that's debatable just given the broader series of events, particularly what happened at the Weeknd's manager's house. Mr. Vidal explains that this mob mentality is why people can believe the allegations, despite the fact that Drake has never been accused of inappropriate behavior with a minor or something similar, like grooming, by any underage or formerly underage persons he's interacted with, or their families, or their acquaintances, and just about every alleged victim of such has come out in defense of Drake. Now, DJ Vlad might have something to say about that. DJ Vlad might have something to say about this part. Mr. Vidal explains that This mob mentality is why people can believe the allegations, despite the fact that Drake has never been accused of inappropriate behavior with a minor or something similar like grooming by any underage or formerly underage persons he's interacted with, or their families, or their acquaintances, and just about every alleged victim of such has come out in defense of Drake. Well, one is just about every is a qualifier there. But Vlad and Academics did an interview a couple of weeks ago. A number of you wanted me to cover this. And in that interview, Academics makes this exact point. Academics says this exact thing to DJ Vlad. Now, DJ Vlad says he has a number of sources who talked to him about things that took place in Drake's home in Los Angeles. And that a number of people have actually said some things, took place at that residence, And so they also, both of them talk about how a lot of times people just get paid off. So Mr. Vidal's explaining this, and he's basing it on the fact that a victim hasn't come forward and accused Drake, which is significant. I'm not trying to downplay that. Like that's a significant thing. You can argue that if there's no victim that's come forward, that should be enough. The difference is that there's other conversations that are around this that arguably are possibly closer to all of this than Mr. Vidal happens to be. Now, I'm not trying to take shots at Mr. Vidal. I'm just saying, for a long time, there's been a lot of things that also contributed to the perception about Drake that's out there. And the perception about Drake that's out there has been out there way before Not Like Us dropped. And so they're blaming everything on this song as being the reason why this has galvanized such a big audience. And I think that there's room to debate that. According to Mr. Rothschild, an author and expert on conspiracy theories, accusations of PDF are particularly ripe for conspiracies. He describes that allegations of child SA cause people to immediately just lose their mind, even if these children don't exist. And even if you put on the suggestion there, it grabs a hold in a way that is difficult to dislodge. We read that quote earlier. Mr. Rothschild also notes that social media exacerbates conspiracy theories because the spread of information or disinformation can happen so much more rapidly than in the analog age. Okay, they cut a bunch of this stuff here, which is about the Heart Part 6, but they bring it back. So we'll see where they bring that back in later. D, Drake is the target of violence almost immediately. They added this sentence. Not only did people believe the allegations in the recording and image, some acted on them, right? And so this is where they go into the details of what happened at Drake's house. We covered this in the previous filing. I'm not going to read it again here. But they don't make mention that, again, The Weeknd's manager's house was shot up the week before. The Weeknd and Drake have had friction at various points, on and off again. And The Weeknd was also on We Don't Trust You, Future and Metro Boomin's project. So and Drake mentions The Weeknd a bunch of times. Drake mentions The Weeknd's in tracks that he threw out there. So there may be correlation, but it's not. I don't see causation when it comes to this, right? So that's what that part's about. All right, so this next part says, Drake publicly denies the defamation material. This is where they reference the Heart Part 6, so this is where they bring that portion I just mentioned before back again. On May 5th, 2024, just a day after UMG published the recording and image, Drake denied all of the allegations in a song called The Heart Part 6. Drake explained that he has never been with no one underage and that his name is not on no S-offender list. Despite being able to contact Drake, UMG did not ask Drake or his representatives to discuss his denials of the allegations contained within the defamatory material. Why would they? Genuine question. Let me know in the comment section why they would ask particularly about his denials. Let me read that again, make sure I understand what's being said. Despite being able to contact Drake, UMG did not ask Drake or his representatives to discuss his denials of the allegations contained within the defamatory material. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why that would be the expectation. It's a rap battle again. Maybe I'm missing something. Let me know in the comment section. Belief in the truth of defamatory material persisted in direct response to Drake's denial of the claims in the Heart Part 6. And they use this meme that's put up here, right? So this is where Drake initially shared the Heart Part 6 on Twitter, it looks like. And he says, the Heart Part 6 out now, and we know you're dropping 6 minutes after, so instead of posting my address, you have a lot to address. That's actually pretty funny. And then they use this picture that Sultan of Solana says, I don't care what they say, you'll always be in the big three in my book. Now, this post here, this response was a day after. You see, Drake posted his on May 5th. This is May 6th. So again, I look at this as a meme, perhaps a joke. The only reason Epstein is in this conversation is because Drake mentions Epstein on the Heart Part 6. Professor Sky pointed that out. 1 second applause, Professor Sky. But Professor Sky pointed that out. Professor Sky pointed out that Drake misread the text again because on Meet the Grams, Kendrick mentions Weinstein. He doesn't mention Epstein. And on the Heart Part 6, Drake mentions Epstein. And so this post is a day after Drake dropped the song. So there isn't another argument that Epstein is in the conversation strictly because Drake mentioned him first too, just like Drake mentioned young girls first, just like Drake mentions Canada first. For anybody who still thinks not like us, others Canada. But nevertheless, it's in this legal filing. All right, so this next section. UMG continues to defame Drake by publishing the Not Like Us music video. Here's they've taken some things out. Here's what they added. UMG did so with knowledge of the actual violence and online threats that ensued from its initial publication of the recording, as well as its understanding that countless listeners had understood the recording and image to convey statements of fact. Right, now this discovery goes both ways. And if this trial goes forward, I imagine that this will be a point of particular contention by UMG. And I think they will look into the shooting at his house. Because here it says it again, UMG did so with knowledge of the actual violence and online threats that ensued from initial publication of the recording. Now, maybe we can look at online threats, but actual violence and the violence that they're referencing most consistently is the shooting. That could be debated. That can sincerely be debated. But nevertheless, this is what it is. Here's a thumbnail of, the Not Like Us music video. They put the words on the screen there. Here's another thumbnail with the hopscotch. Really, they're just breaking down the music video. None of this has changed. This is the shipping containers. Here's the disclaimer that's put on the video. During this scene, a caption appears at the bottom of the video that states, disclaimer, no OV hoes were harmed during the making of this video. This video came out on the 4th of July again. So that's the part where they really just break down the video. And then here it says, on information and belief, each of Sir Grainge, Mr. Janik, and Monty Lipman, that's the CEO of Interscope and the CEO of Republic, and Mr. Avery Lipman played a key role in the initial publication of the video, either in directing or approving the publication and or failing to prevent its publication. Now, if the divisions underneath Universal are in competition with each other, it raises a question as to how much information are they sharing with each other. You know, for example, I don't see how the Lipmans could have stopped this video if they hadn't seen it or if they didn't know it was going to drop. Now, people talk, but I don't know if the expectation there is that Monty and Avery Lipman saw this video before it came out. I don't know where that connection would come. Let me know in the comment section if I missed that part. All right, this is a new section. The video causes more people to believe in the allegation against Drake. Just as with the publication of the recording and image, as soon as UMG published the video, people began expressing belief in the allegations against Drake. Posts reacting to the video, also numbering in at least hundreds of thousands, are indistinguishable from those reacting to the recordings and image. What they're saying is that once the video dropped, people started doing the same thing again. Users again confirmed their belief in the allegations, that the allegations were based on some facts known by Lamar, but yet undisclosed to the public. The caged owl got me truly believing Kendrick know Drake going to prison. Others commented, we have an anti-PDF anthem. About time, no justice for guys like Diddy, Epstein, and Drake. All the victims they cause, much less the Johns. The spewing of hate against Drake has not been limited to social media. The public has leveraged multiple other platforms to repeat the lies in defamatory material. For example, users have edited the address that appears on Google Maps and Apple Maps at Drake's Toronto address to read, PDF lives here and he touches little. In the summer of 2024, users updated the description of Drake's Toronto address in rideshare applications and Uber and Lyft. Users have edited the address to read, Drizzy touches and Drizzy's Fun Time Chamber and A minor. Following the public reaction to the recording and image, UMG understood that this kind of reaction to the video was likely, if not inevitable. Now, I look at a lot of this stuff as trolling, and I think that a lot of songs have this type of impact. But they're looking at this as, they're arguing that this song and the video and the thumbnail have put it in the minds of the audience that the things Dot is saying are calcified fact. And so that's going to have to play out in court, or that's up to the judge's decision. I don't know if I would look at things people say on the internet necessarily as being examples of fact calcifying. Because again, this is a rap battle. This is a rap battle. UMG published the defamatory material with knowledge of or reckless disregard for its falsity and knowledge that it was reasonably foreseeable to cause Drake harm. Right, so here's a part they've added. Further, UMG published and promoted the video and further republications and licensing of the recording with the knowledge that millions of people already understood the recording to assert statements of fact, that Drake is a PDF, that Lamar had represented he knew of undisclosed facts to support such statements, and that the actual violence had occurred at Drake's Toronto's residence immediately following the initial publication of the recording. That is a better way to say that. That actual violence had occurred at Drake's Toronto residence immediately following the initial publications of the recording. That's a better way to say that. It takes them, what's this, page 56 of this 132-page document. Call it 90-some pages, I guess, just because the end is a bunch of, it's just all the redactions they've made or all the amendments they've made. But you get halfway through this and they finally present it that way. But I don't see, I think that part is extremely debatable, that it's tied to this song. They added this part: vigilante actions against suspected PDFs have notably increased in the last 2 years. A New York Times analysis of the phenomenon counted more than 170 violent vigilante acts by PDF hunters since 2023. Here's another part they added. Despite having knowledge of nearly all of the harms Drake had suffered as a result of the publication of the defamatory material in the form of a retraction demand Drake sent to UMG, UMG continues to publish the defamatory material to new audiences around the world. I wonder when they sent that retraction demand. Was it after the video, or was it after the initial song came out, sometime between May 5th, I guess, or May 4th, I think the song came out, and July 4th. UMG engages in publicity campaign to ensure maximum spread of the defamatory material and deceives customers. Now, this is where they get into the allegations of payola. They also talk about how this song was being marketed to people who might want to license the song. It was added to the Winner's Circle playlist for songs that might be marketed for television or film or different IP that needed that sort of energy to it. There's another part in here where they talk about how the song was listed on the Universal playlist, the official Universal playlist on YouTube. So that's basically what they're going to cover in this part. Right, so now this is where they list all the times that UMG or Interscope posted Not Like Us on social media. Here's another one. On September 23rd, 2024, UMG reposted a screenshot of the top 10 songs on the Billboard Hot 100 for the week of September 28th, 2024, which ranked the recording at number 10. UMG commented, 8 out of 10 artists on the Billboard Hot 100 are part of the UMG fam. Well, that seems like that's more than just Not Like Us. It seems like that's an argument that they're just marketing songs that are popular. Here's the update. This is where Not Like Us was featured on the official UMG playlist. They say it's still up. But Eminem Toby, and featuring Big Sean and Baby Tron, they took that one down. Oh, man. 1 second applause for Eminem, Big Sean, and Baby Tron. Detroit's finest, or 3 of Detroit's finest. So this next part is where they talk about the Grammys, right? So on November 8th, 2024, following the extensive publicity campaign launched and managed by UMG, the Recording Academy nominated the recording for several Grammy Awards, including the top awards for Record of the Year and Song of the Year. Now, Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Rap Performance, and Best Rap Song, and nominated the video for Best Music Video. That's just standard. That's just, generally speaking, that's standard. Even artists that aren't in a major label system, when they go ahead and they submit their songs for consideration within the Recording Academy, every genre, generally speaking, they nominate themselves for every category in which they are eligible. So this isn't like UMG particularly placed this song in this situation. It might be Kendrick's camp that actually did it. It might not even be UMG that actually did that, right? Because a lot of times that's just how it goes. But when people have songs that are eligible for categories, they make sure their songs are at least there for consideration. They added this part. At the time it undertook this promotional campaign on behalf of the recording, UMG understood that winning any, let alone many, Grammy Awards would expose the defamatory material to new audiences, including potentially millions of new listeners around the world, resulting in substantial additional harm to Drake. Following the release of the nominations, Interscope posted on its Instagram, "Congratulations to Kendrick Lamar for his 2025 Grammy Awards nominations," with an image listing the recordings nominations. UMG similarly posted on Instagram with the caption, "Here are this year's UMG nominees for Song of the Year at the Grammys, Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar." And in a reel, UMG posted a portion of the video on Instagram with the caption, "They not like Kendrick Lamar. He just nabbed 7 Grammy nominations." UMG posted the same clip on X. 1 second applause. In December 2024, UMG again promoted defamatory material success on the radio on social media when it posted on X, "Huge congrats to UMG fam for landing the top 4 spots on Billboard's 100 Best Songs of 2024 list, 100 emoji, number 1 Kendrick Lamar, Not Like Us." And following the Grammys, Interscope and UMG published celebratory posts about the success of the recordings on Instagram and X. On May 13th, 2024, Ramon Alvarez-Smickel, Interscope's executive vice president and head of digital marketing, reposted an X post from Billboard charts showing the top 10 Hot 100 songs, among them Lamar's Not Like Us at first place. In a February 25th, 2025 LinkedIn post, Jessica Stotts, the vice president of international digital strategy of Interscope, shared, "Big week for all of us on Team Kendrick," and linked to a Billboard report on the recording streaming milestones and placement on the Billboard Hot 100. B, UMG used its ownership interests to promote the defamatory material. Okay, so here's what they added. When UMG, this is where they talk about UMG buying a stake in Complex. They bought a stake in Complex. So now they're linking UMG to Complex, and anything Complex publishes is being part of promotion for UMG. All right, so it says, "On information and belief, UMG used its stake in Complex, a global youth entertainment network, to further promote the defamatory material. When UMG first acquired its stake in Complex, Mr. Janik commented that the partnership will give our artists access to a dynamic network to deepen connections with superfans through the unique collaborations and cultural moments." Right? So it's my understanding UMG was the one that acquired that stake, not necessarily particularly just Interscope. And so that would mean all of the UMG artists would fall into that category. But nevertheless, for this particular one, for this specific one, notice the use of the word superfans again. I talk about superfans quite a bit on this channel, right? Mr. Janik says, "This partnership will give our artists access to a dynamic network to deepen connections with superfans through unique collaborations and cultural moments." And so that's where we are from a priority standpoint when it comes to the major label system. They are they're betting on super fandom within the artist community, people who are super fans of the artist themselves, to drive revenue. A super fan is someone who is defined as someone who is willing to spend money 7 or more different ways. And so that leaves a whole bunch of room for mid-tier artists that are outside that 1%, to kind of get ignored. to not receive as much investment. And so they're all going all in on that. And here's Mr. Janet quoting, talking about how their investment in Complex will allow them to deepen connections with superfans through unique collaborations and cultural moments. So there's another example of it. 1 second, applause. So they reference a Complex article here that referenced the meaning of the thumbnail, the cover art for Not Like Us. Here's another one. These are minor red lines here. This next section is UMG granted licenses to promote the defamatory material. So this is the portal where if you want to license something, you can go and do it. Here's video examples of it. It's on winning and achievement. But this has actually been struck. So perhaps it's no longer as relevant as it used to be. Okay. All these are minor. These are pretty minor. These are overall impressions on this song on multiple platforms, number of videos that have been made on TikTok, particularly in this section. It said they've been viewed over 2 billion times. 2 billion times. And as of the date of this filing, the recording has been used in over 1 million reels on Instagram. 1 second, applause. All right, so they've added this portion here. The recording and video were some of the biggest winners of the night at the 2025 Grammy Awards on February 2nd, 2025. On information and belief, UMG conferred benefits and leveraged existing business relationships to secure Grammy nominations and eventually wins for the recording and video. During the 2025 Grammy Awards, the recording and video won all 5 categories for which they were nominated: Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Rap Song, Best Music Video, and Best Rap Performance. During the ceremony, defamatory portions of the recording were played to the live audience and televised to over 15 million viewers. The recording could not have been played and broadcast during the awards ceremony without UMG's consent. The original broadcast of the Grammys showed the audience singing along to the recording, but in the video of the awards, the ceremony posted to the Grammys YouTube page that the portion is excluded. After the recording won Record of the Year, Sir Grainge high-fived and hugged Lamar's longtime executive producer and musical mentor, Andre Romel Young, known professionally as Dr. Dre, while the recording played. On the Grammys' official YouTube page, the clip featuring the high five does not contain the original audio of the recording. They clocked everything. We've been talking about that. That actually went really viral. That moment went super viral after Not Like Us took home Record of the Year or Song of the Year, whichever one it was. And people are like, "Oh, there goes the conspiracy. Drake gonna talk about this." Well, they did. They added this to the filing. We could see this coming from 3 months away. 1 second, applause. They catching everybody. Just a week later, on February 9th, 2025, UMG facilitated a live performance of the recording during the Apple Music Super Bowl 59 halftime show in New Orleans. They cut out some stuff since the Super Bowl has happened, right? So on information and belief, UMG conferred financial benefits on the parties in charge of the Super Bowl performance and leveraged existing business relationships to secure the headliner spot. So they're saying that UMG paid to have Kendrick perform at the Super Bowl. That's what they're accusing UMG of. On information and belief, UMG conferred financial benefits on the parties in charge of the Super Bowl performance and leveraged existing business relationships to secure the headliner spot. So they're saying, on information and belief, UMG paid Jay-Z to have Kendrick Lamar perform at the Super Bowl. He only got it because UMG conferred financial benefits on the parties in charge of the Super Bowl performance, which is Jay-Z and Roc Nation. So they're saying, they've added this now. This is amended because obviously the Super Bowl hadn't happened when the initial filing took place. But they're saying, he only got that because UMG paid Jay-Z. Oh, Roc Nation, always in the background with your invisible hands. Roc Nation, 1 second, applause. That's funny. As of this filing, the Super Bowl performance is viewable in full on NFL.com as well as on NFL's YouTube account. UMG promoted the Super Bowl performance on Interscope social media, including by reposting advertisements of the NFL, Apple Music, and Touch Tunes on X. On TikTok, UMG posted Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl 59 with the recording playing, and the caption added, February 25 will be with the GOAT emoji. The version of the recording performed during the Super Bowl performance was modified to exclude the word PDF, but no other modifications were made. That's not true. They took out a lot of, I guess maybe in this song, because I don't think this song is too heavy in profanity, but they took out a lot of profanity in a number of these songs. Like, broadly speaking, profanity is also modified when it comes to these songs. So they're making it seem like the only change that was made is the PDF, but perhaps the portion of that song didn't have profanity in it. Whereas the other songs that did have profanity in them, they made changes to those. On information and belief, Kendrick Lamar would not have been permitted to perform during the Super Bowl performance unless the word PDF in the phrase certified PDFs was omitted from the lyrics. That is because nearly everyone understands that it is defamatory to falsely brand someone a certified PDF. On information and belief, the NFL, as well as the corporate entities responsible for the televised and streaming broadcast of the Super Bowl performance, all understood the word certified PDF to be unacceptable in a broadcast to millions of listeners. Notwithstanding that apparent consensus, UMG continues to publish the recording absent the censoring that even Kendrick Lamar deemed acceptable for the Super Bowl performance. I'm gonna read that last part again. Notwithstanding that apparent consensus, UMG continues to publish the recording absent the censoring that even Kendrick Lamar deemed acceptable for the Super Bowl performances. Interesting. Yeah, so they're saying Kendrick wouldn't have been able to perform if he said that line. So they're saying that the only reason he bleeped it out was because he was told he couldn't perform the song at all if they put that word in there. So that's new information, and they've added that as well. So they're saying Kendrick only got the Super Bowl because UMG paid Roc Nation to make Kendrick the headliner. And so let's say we do a timeline on that. That was announced in September, maybe late August. The song came out in May. So sometime between May, I'd imagine it would be around or after the pop-out. Because the pop-out was another great example of Kendrick Lamar putting on a live performance that's visually stunning for viewers at home, along with his tour. Him and Dave Free just be crushing it on that. 1 second applause. But they're saying somewhere in that window between May 5th or May 4th and when it was announced, UMG said, yo, Hov, this is for you people at Roc Nation. Get him on the Super Bowl. And then now they're also saying, yeah, well, now he's on the Super Bowl. He won't be able to do that song if he doesn't take out the PDF part. Okay, this is what they're arguing. The Super Bowl performance broadcast by Fox was the most watched Super Bowl halftime show of all time with over 133.5 million viewers tuning in. 1 second applause. More people than watched the game itself. 1 second applause. According to an NFL post on X, the Super Bowl performance online obtained 800 million impressions and more than 3.65 billion total global views, including over 1.7 billion views from user-generated content. 1 second applause. Over 100 million views of the NFL on TikTok account, the number one rank of the most socially consumed Apple Music halftime show for the NFL. 5.7 million mentions on social media, the number one rank for most watched YouTube video in 28 countries, the number one rank for YouTube's top trending chart, and 50 million views on YouTube in the first 17 hours of publication. 1 second applause. Clips of the Super Bowl performance in which Drake is referenced by name went viral, with 3 TikTok posts from the NFL's account amassing a total of 88.3 million views. Apple Music, sponsor of the Super Bowl performance, posted "They Not Like Us" 48 times in an X post shortly following the Super Bowl performance. 1 second applause. UMG sought out, negotiated for, greenlit, and promoted the Super Bowl performance after the filing of the complaint and after months of notice that the allegations of defamatory materials were false, that they were being believed as true by the public, and that they were causing harm to Drake. This is hilarious. And so down here they've linked, to different articles that are talking about how The Super Bowl performance became a viral meme, etc. Just it's linking to the post that they've made. It continues. The agreement to censor the word PDF failed to cure the Super Bowl performance of conveying the recording's central defamatory meaning. Instead, the Super Bowl performance further solidified the public's belief in the truth of the allegations against Drake. How many people in the world didn't know Drake was credibly accused of being a PDF and now know? That seems like it's asking a question. Kendrick Lamar just cooked Drake in front of the whole world, and anybody who didn't know that Drake is a certified PDF is probably now on Google trying to understand why Kendrick Lamar said he likes him young. Well, he said he likes him young because that's what Drake said. Drake said, tell them that I like young girls as a gift for me. Heard it on the Button podcast. It's got to be true. We're going to get to that part next, too. All right. There's some more examples here of what people have said online. The Super Bowl performance revitalized the public's attention to the allegations against Drake. Once again, members of the public renewed their outrage about Drake being a known PDF. They should start an investigation on Drake, ! Look how Diddy and Jeffrey Epstein turned out. All right, here's a few more examples, and these are all footnotes that tie to those. So it used to say UMG promoted the defamatory material through covert payments to third parties. Now it says UMG promoted the defamatory material through covert means to deceive customers. Now here's the changes. On information and belief, UMG directly or indirectly through its agents and making use of UMG resources conspired with, paid, or caused payments to be made to unknown third parties to use bots to artificially inflate the spread of the recording on Spotify. At minimum, UMG was aware that third parties were using bots to stream the recording and turned a blind eye despite having the power to stop such behavior. Bots are software programs designed to mimic human behavior to appear to be real social media accounts. They cut a whole bunch, and then they say the desire to jumpstart the recording's popularity is unsurprising because streams beget more streams. Songs identified as top streamers land on most popular lists and playlists, which leads to more streams and therefore more licensing requests, more purchases, more partnerships, and ultimately more money. And they cut out UMG. They cut out UMG in this part, which I find interesting. They got rid of a bunch of stuff here. This continues from where it was before. And here's where they added. Recently, Chart Data, which reports on music news, reported that Spotify has been removing botted streams from its platform over the last several months. In June 2024, one podcast host noted, not only do I not care that he, Kendrick Lamar, used bots, but I knew he did. In a podcast clip posted to his YouTube channel on June 23rd, 2024, he continued, y'all didn't know that Kendrick used bots? You thought that this was just the first time, miraculously, that a Drake record had more dislikes than likes? Or you didn't know that that was bots too? Bots to me is part of how you win a war versus Drake. Now that's Joe Budden. Shout out to Joe Budden. 1 second applause. That's Joe Budden, okay? They're talking about Joe Budden. So the parts that they cut out here, these big chunks up here that they cut out, this is from Academic Stream, where he had a whistleblower on who said that, I guess he got 30 bands, something like that, to bot Not Like Us. They cut all that stuff because UMG was able to argue that in previous rounds of this Shakespearean shakedown, where this Shakespearean shakedown has led to, 1 second applause, that wasn't a valid source, that didn't happen. There's a lot of things that have taken place, right? And so they've added Joe Budden instead. And Joe Budden is saying, yeah, of course he bought it. That's how you beat Drake. You don't think it's odd that it has 800,000 thumbs down? Well, early in this filing, we're watching them tell us that YouTube comments and Twitter comments primarily have calcified the idea that the statements in Not Like Us are true. And here they're posting Joe Budden say, well, of course they're bots. That's why it has 800,000 thumbs down. To me, it's like, I know personally, we all know personally, there's bots that leave comments. There's plenty of bots that leave comments. A lot of these comments that they're referencing, I haven't seen them yet argue that these comments are by real people. I just haven't read it yet. I'm not saying that maybe in the next step they'll be able to do that, whatever. I'm just saying I have not seen that part yet in any of these filings. And now they've added Joe Budden in here saying, oh, of course it's botted, apparently supporting apparently for the purpose of supporting their claim that Not Like Us was botted by third parties. And they're saying, they got Joe Budden saying, of course it's botted. That's how you beat Drake. It doesn't occur to you that it's the first Drake record to have more dislikes than likes? They're playing it on both sides is what I'm reading here. I find that really interesting strategy as well. We'll see how it works out for him, Cotton. 1 second applause. It continues. Other users exposed the marketing of the recording through bots and payments to influencers following plaintiffs' pre-action filings in New York and Texas state courts. In subsequent deleted posts on November 24, 2025, a social media user claimed to have knowledge of paid promotion of the recording in response to a comment that on X that Kendrick was buying promo. The user responded, was. The user continued that there was a slow-ass digital marketer paying to clown the suit, and UMG would push blame to the digital marketer once the suit takes place, after letting the paid promo fly for months. In other deleted posts, the user claimed that the paid promo for pushing the lawsuit, Drake's lawsuit against UMG, was already happening, and that the alleged digital marketer is psychotic. I don't think they need to promote this lawsuit. I don't think they need to bot negative reactions to this lawsuit. I just don't think that's necessary. I think actual real people would do this on their own. This next part is interesting too. He says, another social media user posted a video on X claiming to demonstrate how to use a bot streamer for songs hosted on Spotify. In the post, the user claimed that this is the streaming bot that UMG and Kendrick Lamar used to boost Not Like Us streams with the beef with Drake. And I used to be a stream farmer, but I've since retired. So that is Poetic Flacco. They cited Poetic Flacco in here. Here's where he said that. He said, this is the streaming bot that UMG and Kendrick Lamar used to bot Not Like Us. Streams in the beef with Drake. Check comments if you want to get your hands on this software and see for yourself. I used to be a stream farmer, but I've since retired. Here's Flacco talking.
Want to click a button and it gets you those streams. And it automatically plays the record for you. It's simple. Now, as an artist, bro, it's almost unlimited possibilities, right? You could boost your own numbers and make the charts, or if you want to sell this service to labels and artists, you can do so. Watch how simple this is. Watch how you're about to hear this song get played by an AI over and over and over.
Well, that was the song, right? But they referenced Poetic Flacco's post. So Poetic Flacco has now made it into Drake's argument. On information and belief, UMG also provided financial incentives to streaming platforms to promote the recording, including by charging Spotify lower than usual licensing rates for the recordings in exchange for Spotify affirmatively recommending the recording to users who are searching for other unrelated songs and artists. So that's something that's come up a number of times too. Now they've added a similar experience to people with some sexy songs for you. Third parties have documented strange recommendations in the searches on Spotify. On July 3rd, 2024, a user posted a video on X of a man typing Eminem into Spotify's search engine and the recording appearing as a suggested search result. The user captioned the post, "It doesn't matter what you search for on Spotify, you'll see Not Like Us pop up. Spotify picked their side and their algorithm is proof." Other users describe similar experiences, and since the initiation of the lawsuit, some Spotify users have raised concern about the recording appearing in results when searching for new releases by Drake or for other artists. Relatedly, in the days following the release of Drake's new album, Some Sexy Songs for You, on February 14th, 2025, some users reported not being able to find the new release when searching on Spotify. Recommended songs, search results, and promoted playlists play a role in determining which music users will be exposed to and ultimately consume. An article discussing the harms of payola on music consumers describes that by including songs in suggested playlists, Spotify and other streaming services represent to the listening public that the song has been chosen because it's uniquely aligned to that listener's taste or the playlist mood, and that the expert curator has judged the song to possess artistic excellence. On information and belief, UMG employed a similar scheme by paying social media influencers to promote and endorse the recording and video. As just one example, Playtip understands that UMG paid directly or indirectly the popular NFR podcast to promote the recording and video without disclosing payment. As part of its deal with UMG, the NFR podcast publicly published podcast episodes, tweets, and other content about the recording. That's not unique either. And really, Team Drake knows this. I mean, they've been going on a relentless campaign with Nokia. They literally paid influencers to make UGC comments. They have a number of people over there who talk about how it is normal practice for them to get their mom and everyone else who's attached to these accounts and their family to help stream these songs, to help boost Drake's numbers. I'm not saying that that's necessarily nefarious. I'm saying this is entirely hypocritical for them to point out that, hey, this label paid this podcast to promote this song. They might just be on payroll. A number of platforms are on payroll for labels. And in other situations, there's a number of platforms who are whitelisted to a degree. None of this stuff is new. If back in the day, it was called buying an ad in a magazine. You know, buying an ad on a blog, ad space on a blog. Now influencers are the most efficient way to market. And so this is just part of normal business. Discovery goes both ways. And I'd argue, I'd be highly shocked. I'd be shocked if anybody's benefited from all these practices more than Drake himself. Because I think we've known that the industry, especially with Scorpion, for example, they had him on cover of playlists on Spotify that he wasn't even in genres of music he's not even a part of. And now we've got a lot of Drake fans out here outwardly saying things like, oh yeah, we've been doing this for every project. Interesting take there, Cotton. Let's see if it plays out for you. On information and belief, UMG caused Apple Inc. to have its voice-activated digital assistant Siri purposely misdirect users requesting other songs to instead stream the recording. Online sources reported that when users asked Siri to play Certified Lover Boy by Drake, Siri instead played the recording. Now, I can't believe this is still in here either. This is something that shocked me that they kept in here because this is because of how voice AI works. Certified Lover Boy is in both songs. It just so happens that Not Like Us is more popular than anything on that album. So algorithmically speaking, if you want to hear Certified Lover Boy, that's probably going to go to Not Like Us because that song is just the most popular song. Which might speak to the genius of Kendrick Lamar. 1 second, pause. All right, so most of this stuff here is the same. They took out a bunch of stuff here. Here's what they've added. In February of this year, Federal Communications Commission, FCC, released an enforcement advisory regarding covert manipulation of airplay on radio stations following congressional interest in an alleged scheme of payola violations. Later that month, the FCC sent iHeartMedia, a mass media company and owner of iHeart Radio Network, a demand for information about iHeart's compliance with federal payola laws. In the aftermath of these FCC actions, and certain commentators have speculated as to whether Spotify's promotional practices will face similar regulatory scrutiny. We covered that in a previous video too. iHeart was under payola scrutiny for asking artists to perform at their iHeart Country Festival to take a lower rate in exchange for more spins on radio. So that is what that's referring to. iHeart was also a part of this case. It's so crazy that they're still even mentioned in this amended filing because it's my understanding that that case has been dismissed or that case was Drake's team dropped that case. Much like with Spotify, like these people have been taken. Spotify and iHeart have been taken off of these legal filings. So interesting to see that they're still in here. They're still alleging payola. A bunch of stuff is cut here. Here's where they point out the different reactors. The Cartier family, they cut it just to update the numbers. Basically, it was 2 million when they first filed this. Now it's 2.4 million. Same with RDC World. It was 4.5 million. Now it's 5 million. Same down here with Kai Cenat. It was 9 million. It's 10 million now. Still really only referencing Black creators outside of NFR podcasts. Still leaning heavily into that. All right. Here's the update. This part here is talking about them whitelisting Not Like Us, UMG whitelisting Not Like Us. I'm not even sure that's UMG. And I don't know what they mean by whitelisting, but here's what they say. These content creators could not have legally republished the defamatory material in full or profited from their reaction videos without UMG first whitelisting the recording. Within days of UMG whitelisting the recording, content creators were thanking Lamar for lifting the copyright restrictions. Right. People do that. There's a number of artists who do that. There's a reaction I did recently that is not from Kendrick Lamar that is whitelisted. I didn't ask. There's a number of people who do this all the time. And I don't necessarily think, and people didn't know this in the beginning. None of these reactors went into this thinking that they weren't going to get flagged for this reaction. I mean, my Not Like Us reaction doesn't have the music. Because at that point in time, one, I was just kind of figuring out how to do reactions in general. I was getting a lot of reps. Thank you guys for rocking with me and bearing with me. 1 second applause. But two, you know, I didn't want to get flagged. I was like, man, I think a lot of people are going to watch this video. I don't want to get flagged. So nevertheless, they're still arguing the same thing here. They're just, basically updating the numbers around it. They also changed these names here. Reactors Kai Sanat, No Life Shaq, DJ Academics, I'm Dante, and John Denton have confirmed that UMG did not make efforts to copyright strike or otherwise demonetize their videos about the recording in the initial days following its release. So that is a part of this amended document too. We're nearly finished here, but here's another part that they've added. In the week following the Super Bowl performance, the recording again reached #1 on Billboard. Hey, 1 second applause. And in the hours after the Super Bowl performance, the recording streams increased 430% on Spotify. 1 second applause again. Yeah, that's what happens. The defamatory material has become ubiquitous, not just in the rap community, but in the community at large. The defamatory material has been heard and or viewed over 9 billion times. 9 billion times. 1 second applause. So, Not Like Us is doing what it's supposed to do. They've added this part too. Of all the songs published during the Rap Beef recording, the recording is the only one that broke through the noise and achieved cultural ubiquity, right? And so what they're saying is there was a bunch of songs that were dropped, but this is the only one that really, really went. And they're arguing it's because UMG pushed it. Now, I'd argue the nature of the song, it's a catchy ditty that teaches Reconstruction era history and the type of people and kids the type of people to stay away from. I think it's probably the quality of the song more than any of these other things. But that song truly has been embraced by communities and cultures all over the world. Really has. I mean, it's up there with Chumbawamba. It's up there with the Macarena. It's just one of those things that can never be recreated. All right, all this is the same. And these are all the amended. This is everything that they've cut again. And then you get down here, a few minor changes, nothing super substantial. This is the part where they're basically rehashing everything that we went through. Now, one thing I did think was funny that I forgot to mention in here, this post was actually also included in the filing. And so this is during March Madness, and this is a post someone put on Twitter, and it's about Drake University in Iowa, the Drake basketball team. It says, if Drake beats Mizzou, we call that, what? A minor upset? These people are trolling. Now, I thought that was actually pretty funny because Drake actually wears a Drake University jersey in the Nokia video. He's wearing a Drake University jersey. Right here. Right here is where he wears a Drake University jersey. So if you take a look right here. Where's the better one? Right there. So that's the Drake University jersey. So he actually wears this jersey in the Nokia video. And part of me wonders if he knew in this amendment that this was going to be one of the points. But perhaps since Drake does do a lot of foreshadowing with these past 6 months, when it comes to this legal situation through whether it's leaks of songs, whether it's IG posts, he tends to give people a heads up about what's coming. And so this Drake troll post that was shared during March Madness, is that aligned to the fact that, okay, I'm going to drop the Nokia video? I'm going to drop the Nokia video where I wear a Drake jersey? I don't know. Who knows? It's conspiratorial at this point. There's another point in that filing. I might have missed it. Maybe I went a little bit fast past that point. But they make an argument that Not Like Us is the only Not Like Us is the only Kendrick song that has billions of streams. Billions of streams, right? And so I looked that up. I was like, why would they say that? Not Like Us is 1.4 billion. All the Stars has more. It's 2.2 billion. Money Trees 1.8 billion. Humble 2.5 billion. It was such a weird thing to say. But I checked that out too. That's where that is. Now, here is UMG's response to the legal filing. And here's their response. UMG issued a lengthy response to the amended complaint, stating to Variety, Drake, unquestionably one of the world's most accomplished artists and with whom we've enjoyed a 16-year successful relationship, is being misled by his legal representatives into taking one absurd legal step after another. In Texas last November, his counsel instituted a legal proceeding with much fanfare and bluster. On Monday, they quietly dropped the case. The case in Texas, the iHeart case, was dropped. The case in Texas was dropped. They actually dropped it. We didn't hear anything about that. He continues, in New York in January, Drake's counsel filed a defamation lawsuit fearful of being sanctioned by the court for asserting false allegations. Tonight, they amend the complaint to withdraw them, only to add more baseless allegations. That's what I was surprised about. They added more allegations at the end of all this. 2 weeks ago, his representative celebrated a win, quote unquote, the granting of a routine discovery motion. That quote unquote win will become a loss if this frivolous and reckless lawsuit is not dropped in its entirety, because Drake will personally be subject to discovery as well. As the old saying goes, be careful what you wish for. Drake will personally be subject to discovery as well. Then we'll really find out. We will really find out. I look at that as a very well-worded, veiled threat. Because, again, they've been in business for 16 years, since 2009. It's been a very successful relationship. There's no part of me that believes a massive organization like Universal Music Group doesn't keep tab on its most priority artists. No part of me thinks that. I'm gonna read that one more time. That quote unquote win will become a loss if this frivolous and reckless lawsuit is not dropped in its entirety, because Drake will personally be subject to discovery as well. As the old saying goes, be careful what you wish for. Both the Texas and New York proceedings are an affront to all artists and creative expression. Should his legal representative senselessly keep the New York lawsuit alive, we will demonstrate that all remaining claims are without merit. It is shameful that these foolish and frivolous legal theatrics continue. They are reputationally and financially costly to Drake and have no chance of success. Wow. One second applause. Strong response, super strong response. I think that is the biggest thing if I'm Team Drake. That's the part that I'm most concerned about, discovery. And let's say away from any personal accusations or any of the allegations that are being described in this lawsuit as defamatory, I think discovery would really show the amount of help and support that this system that Drake is attacking, how much Drake has benefited from it, how much of his career is really built off of these mechanisms that he is targeting through this lawsuit. I think UMG, per the Rolling Stone article we looked at last time with their response, there's at least one lawyer out there who says, when Kendrick says, don't tell no lies about me, I won't tell no truths about you. Yeah, perhaps there's something to that. I look at a lot of this stuff again, and it really is amazing the length someone will go because they have a hard time taking a loss. And I honestly agree with UMG in their closing statement here, where they say it's shameful that these foolish and frivolous legal theatrics continue. They are reputationally and financially costly to Drake and have no chance of success. Well, I don't know about their chance of success. They look financially costly, but I have no idea about Drake's balance sheet. But I can definitely say that all of this, all these antics, all of these legal maneuverings over a lost rap battle, Drake's reputation will never be the same. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section. If there's anything I missed, anything that stood out to you. This might be the longest video I've done. I actually went into this video thinking it wasn't going to take as long to get all the way through this. I'm going to go through and edit. Maybe I'll cut some of this down. But right now I'm sitting at 2 hours. That was not part of today's plan. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section. My name is Justin Hunt. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow the company man on everything. Follow the Justin Hunt podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. It's all happening.
Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. The mathematical breakdown of this mighty game of rap we in. It's boom bapping in. Systematical culture views us radical, it's all happening. Shaking hands and dapping it. Life through the lens of hip hop, from trip hop to yes, y'all, you don't stop, you don't stop. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening.